Yes, Nate. Jag skulle vilja påminna dig om någonting. Kanske reinforca någonting. Johan hade ett utlägg i något tidigt avsnitt. Där han då kanske vände sig eller pratade till alla unga män där ute. Som hade allting på plats då. Och det enda som egentligen finns kvar i det här sen i förlängningen är sättet. Det här är väldigt, väldigt imponerande. Och jag tror att det är någonting man kan finna drivkraft. Alltså du kan plocka saker ur det också. Och jag vill egentligen bara att du hämtar mer och mer ur det också. Du vet att det bara är den där, jag vet inte, heliga liksom källan då. Bara hämta det som finns där. Det finns egentligen ingenting i hela världen som kan stå emellan dig och progressionen när du går in i de här sätten. Och det är det som är hela premissen som vi arbetar under när vi går in i de här träningssessionerna. De här sätten ser väldigt, väldigt bra ut. Det är egentligen inte mycket mer än så.
So, apologies for my absence. By the same token, more will be expected or to come. One of the reasons for my absence, one of many, is the intrinsic masculine hubris. That is the overconfidence in one's abilities. So what I thought would happen is that, you shoot the YouTube video and then you go home, you edit, it takes 2-3 hours, you upload it, takes an hour. And that'll be it. No, definitely not. That is not the way it is. Recently I've reflected and not realized, but it has become more apparent to me that this is crunch time. That if I'm going to compete, since I'm going to compete next year in spring, that means that the prep has to start around Christmas, which means that now up until Christmas is the time to grow. That is the thing about having a fixed date. It's fixed. And so it has caused me to double down into my process and to reflect on things that I can do better. And if I really am all in, and if all of my recovery metrics and variables are dialed in as they should. And one thing that I found helpful, and I think that many others will find helpful, is to understand your why. And that is something that has been said probably 1 million times, to understand your why. And everyone understands the weight of it. But even so, I think that is massively overlooked. Recently, I looked at, I listened to the podcast Modern Wisdom, and I think it was David Sinek or Sinek that featured an episode where they talked about separating your goals and your feeling of self, which felt very applicable to me, and I think to others. So I recommend that. I also watched Marvin Bane, his latest YouTube video. I think it's the 30th of July today. So watch that. But to understand your why and what you're doing, is it because of your why? Is it in spite of your why? And is it fixing the why, or is it just exacerbating the issue further? I think that's very important to understand. But to understand that, you have to understand your why. And as two of the greatest minds say, the question why is often very relevant. So in order to find out your why, you ask yourself the question why. And you ask it, we ask it, then you get an answer, and then we get the answer, then you ask the question again, why? Eventually you get to a base form of this thought, this idea, or this analogus that you have projected out into the world. And that is your why. And then you have to connect that with what you're doing to see if what you're doing is healthy, if it's we're building you up, or if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, so to speak. To get a bit personal here again, my why, as I reflect more upon it, is that during my early school years, I was a bit, was different. And that was very apparent. I wasn't bullied, but I felt that I got very, walked all over, right? Primarily psychologically and socially. And so I think that a lot of what I do stems from that, to not want to be that character again, to show strength. And not strength in, the size of your arms or whatever. Not strength in the amounts of weight you can lift from the floor, but strength in character. And strength in character can be defined in many ways, but one of the primary ways, I think, or to me at least, is to keep promises that you make to yourself, to be true to yourself. You have a goal, and you plan out how to get to that goal, and then you follow up on it. You get, working towards that goal, and then along the way you meet obstacles, roadblocks, storms, turbulence, but you keep pushing on because you made a promise to your younger self. That is strength, in my opinion, and so this is just in a healthy way, I think, psychologically, feeding more of that. And so the why isn't a why that is in nature impossible to fill. It's not a why that needs external validation because of a lack of self-love, but it's something that is attainable in this pursuit. So, understand your why. It's incredibly important. So, understand your why. It's incredibly important. And it gets even more important the deeper you get. So don't just be happy and content with asking yourself why, getting an answer, but ask the question why at least 5, 6, 7 times until you get to the base, to the roots of this thought that you've interjected. So yes, today I'll be training pull. My hamstring is back. I did 2 weeks ago. I did 180 for 6 in the RDL. Last week I did 185 for 11, and I felt that I was holding myself back. So I feel that it's truly back now. So I'll be able to barber row at full intensity. I still apply some Linux. I'll still do some hamstring curls just as an insurance policy, but it's there. I feel today that it's there psychologically, and so I'll take it. I'll take everything else because this is crunch time. All right, let's get to it. So, the elephant in the room. This. I think this is just exploring what time and what IGF-1 can do for me. I mean, there's certain people in this world that haven't seen me go without a haircut for more than 2 or 3 weeks. There's certain people that see me go without a haircut for 2 or 3 years. I remember when I was 13, 14, I could go, months, years without a haircut. And it just wasn't appealing to just do that on a per week, every other week basis. That's not the case anymore. I usually cut my hair every week, every other week. But I just got tired of it. So, back training. I said I didn't want to explain the difference between a lat row and upper back row, which I won't. But if there's any area in training that can become incredibly nuanced and both incredibly black and white and straightforward, it is back training. Because on this movement, I could steer away internal feel. I could just go in to progress with everything I have, progress the numbers, and keep the execution at surface level at least the same. But what happens inside is a different thing. That being said, the point in which this becomes a poor trade-off is very far away from me. What I want to say is that I can go into a movement like this very hard and with the intent to progress the logbook, keep the execution the same, and more is more for a very long time there for me. Whereas certain people will benefit more from just chasing internal feel, and of course progressing logbook as well, but that being secondary. And I think that comes down to ability to connect with the movement and the muscle. So for stronger body parts, then body English is more applicable. There's more to be had there. You can, so it's when it comes to execution. So more is more there. But when you have a weaker body part, then you maybe have to be a bit more textbook with it. So last week or a couple weeks ago, I had a set where I trained with Zach and with Sigge. And I did the first set, and I got like 7 or 8. And Zach looked at me and said, "Is that it?" And then he went and he did 8 or 9. I was like, okay, this is the way it's gonna be. So I stayed away some internal feel, and I just progressed it hard. I got like 11 on my left arm. And so that just proves how much, well, not wiggle room, but room in between the extremes there are when it comes to back training. There are certain movements, certain patterns, certain things that just come naturally. So you can plan, you can think. But sometimes just a case of don't think, just do. The younger generation will speak of inflation, as in a certain Well, a lot of things in the gym. There's so many people that do it now, and so many freaks that what was special before is ordinary today. And although comparison is the thief of joy, I also love that it's like that. Because to compare yourself to a freak with something that is seemingly unattainable is much better than the alternative. That there is no freak, that there is nothing to strive towards. I remember thinking that rowing 3 plates was impossible. I remember thinking that rowing 4 plates was impossible. I remember thinking that hack squatting 6 plates was impossible. But then I saw Jacob Pettersson do all of these things. And that, he showed me, he didn't do it to show me, he did it for himself. But in doing it for himself, he showed someone else what was possible. And so being able to see someone else do it, and thinking that they're only human, they bleed just like I do, that in and of itself has incredible value. So don't put limits on yourself just because it's what you see, what you don't see. About that Marvin Bane video, I don't want to make people think that that is me. Quite the opposite. I feel like I grew up in a very perfect upbringing. Imperfectly perfect, maybe. But there is a certain someone that I want to show that video to. And not for my sake, not for, reconciliation, but just for her well-being, I got a bit too amped. So the audio from this clip was too poor for me to to justify keeping it in. And what I meant to say, or what I did say, is that throughout this session, you would have seen me perform different sets differently, even within the same exercise. You would have seen the barbell row sets be pretty different. The top set being more, well, sloppy, if you would, more intense to progress, more intense to put more weight on the bar. And the second set would have been more strict, controlled, more intense on the target muscle. And although execution should be constant, there is some wiggle room. And the analogy I made for this was that you have a goalpost, right? And for certain exercises, the more skilled you are, the wider these goalposts get. So the harder it is to miss. And for other exercises, for other muscle groups, the goalpost will be wider. And for the stronger you get, the further away from the goalpost you have to step away. It gets harder to row, for example, 80 kilos over 160. But when you do score from this distance, the return will also be greater. And the reason for having these two different sets is that they are distinctly different, which gives you two very different opportunities to progress. And moreover, the different opportunities to progress also synergistic with each other, so that they will have cross transfer, into each other. So progressing the back off set is probably what will give you the most yield as far as muscle goes. But the top set will be the one that'll be able to drive up your back off set the most, which in return give you the most yield. So don't always get stuck in doing things perfectly. Don't always just do things sloppy just for the sake of it. But try to find this balance of what you can afford to do and what you can't afford to do based on your strengths, your weaknesses in your physique, but also your strengths and weaknesses in ability to move within movement patterns. that is the pool session wrapped up. I did some HIIT as well, as I should. Cardiac health, metabolic flexibility, and damn things there. So yeah, that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll link the stuff that I talked about below because I genuinely think that it has value for a lot of people out there. Why is a great question to ask yourself. Right, have a nice day. Bye-bye.